The ban list giving us back 3 Dark Hole is something I never thought I would actually expect to see anytime soon. But now that the card's back at 3, I realize how much it's not really necessary for the archetype, and that's just in general for board wipes in general for this deck. This deck does have the ability to plus off going either first or second, setting up unkillable boards with like double Destroyer and Dark Lady's Negate and Eclipsers and junk. But this deck's able to not only go first and set up said boards, but it can also go second and OTK your opponent, which Dark Hole does help, but I don't believe it's actually super necessary for the build right now. In fact, I've actually come across a new card from the new set that I actually like a lot more than Dark Hole, and we'll get to it as soon as we get there. Anyway, this is the July 21st, or excuse me, the July 2019 ban list update for Kozmo, so let's go ahead and get right into it. For the monsters, 3 copies of Destroyer, 3 Slip Rider, 1 Forerunner, 1 Walker, and Eclipser. The first 6 are basically always standard. You're never going to actually want to play any less than 3 Dark Destroyer ever. This thing's a lone fire. It interacts with your opponent. It summons literally almost any card in the archetype outside of Eclipser from the deck. It's an extender. It's a starter, depending on if you have a pilot in your hand. It's really good. Don't ever play less than 3. Slip Rider, it's just a nice floater. You can get into it, you pop some back row. It's the only other one that actually pluses when you summon it. Eclipser and Walker and Forerunner actually are the only ones that don't get you something guaranteed. It's not always a plus, so I believe playing 6 of these is really important. For the pilots, 3 Tin Can is your starter. You should always play 3 of this. You always want to see it turn 1. 2 Farm Girl. This is how I was mentioning about how this deck can actually go first or go second. If this deck goes first, you summon Destroyer with this, or any other pilot. If you go second, you hope to open a Dark Destroyer, another pilot, and then you can actually tutor into this to make an OTK by searching another Dark Destroyer, or another combo piece that would actually get you to the OTK damage range. 2 Strawmen. This is what you make after you go to your first Destroyer to revive the Destroyer and get a Tin Can in the end phase and get another search. This is really good late game. It's cheap to add back off of a town, so you can just keep getting this. No matter what, this is almost always going to get a summon from the Banished Zone, as long as you have a ship in hand to dodge hand traps. So this thing's really good. 2 Dark Lady. This is your turn 1 option. You make this to just negate stuff. Really good. You can also make this mid combo or mid floating just to get a free negate on board. Good Witch. You don't really have to play this anymore. I just enjoy playing this because it outs stupid shit. It outs like VFD, it outs Vandy's Fiend, it outs Barrier Statues, Fossil Dyna. This is just really good. So I keep it at 1, but you can probably cut this for like anything else really. It's not super important. For the last 2 pilots, 1 Sword Trooper, 1 Wicked Witch. This one is actually not as important as it used to be back in the Fire King days, because you don't actually summon anything out of this anymore, except for the occasional time you're either going to make a rank 3 play, or when you have to revive the Dark Lady that you pitched off of the Tin Can, so you can resolve your float without having to fear dash. And Wicked Witch is just a nice something that you float into to protect yourself from getting killed. So that's it for the monsters. For the spells, 3 Town. I don't think you need to play Terraforming or any more copies of this, like in any sort of sense. 3 Town is perfectly fine. You don't really need to open it like you did back in the day. This is just more of a combo extender or digs for your other cards. And it also synergizes really well with Allure of Darkness, which it turns Allure of Darkness into a break-even, into a Pot of Greed, because no matter what, you're going to have a dark to recur, and then you're always going to have an extra resource. So this just literally just says draw 2 cards. 3 copies of Pot of Desires. Okay, so I'm not playing Pot of Extravagance, I believe is the one. The one that pitches cards from the extra deck. I don't think it's good in this deck, because I'd rather play the 9 draw cards versus just the 3 that I have to draw turn 1, or I have to draw just by naturally. I'd rather have these I can activate at any point in my turn to get more and not be locked out of drawing. So I think these are 100% necessary. I don't think Extravagance is that great, because this deck does have a minor consistency problem, and if it doesn't get to its first float turn 1, it basically does nothing. So for the last of the spells, 3 Call by the Grave. This ensures that you, like, when you go first, you have to be able to stop the first Ash, because if you get ashed on your first Dark Destroyer float, or any of your floats at all, you really can just lose the game right then and there. So this at 3 is 100% necessary. 1 teleport and 1 reasoning. People never call this right. They always call 4 or 1 because they either think you're playing Infernoids or they're playing Lightsworns. So when they eventually never call 8, this thing's really good. But you usually side this out game 2 and 3 because people will then know what you're playing. For the traps, 2 copies of Mojo. This isn't as necessary as it used to be because there's no such thing as a mirror match anymore, but being able to hit the graveyard when you're playing against Orcust is really nice, so I keep this at 2. This is the going first build, and if you're going second, you would actually just completely cut the traps in general for back row, hate, and board wipes. So for the last of the traps, 2 call and 1 Storm Dragon Returns. I like this thing a lot, and I might bump it up to 2 and then cut Call the Haunted to 1, or put 2 and 2 in here, and either cut a Good Witch or a Wicked Witch, because this thing is just another copy of Call the Haunted that's actually better late game than Call the Haunted is. Though Call the Haunted being able to recur or have a guaranteed hit is just extremely, extremely good. But this one also allows you to play through Ash because the destroying or the banishing from the graveyard is cost, so you'll always have this be live. There's almost never a time I actually bricked with this card because you're always going to make a tin can, and yeah, I might actually just bump this to 2 and 2 or just Call the Haunted out entirely. So for the extra deck, this really just comes to personal preference. I have a lot of pretty cards in this extra deck because this is Kozmo, and I wanted to rarity pimp it as much as possible. 1 Felgrand, it turns off Colossus, so does this, so does this. You can't actually make this in this build anymore because I'm only running the 1/7, but this is still really pretty. These could literally just be anything. Like, you could play Nightmares, you could play that new Goddess Bow thing, even though I don't think you're actually going to have the resources to make it at any time. So, yeah. Exciton Knight, this is just funny to pull off. Draco Sack, again, you can't make it. Nova Infinity, these are the only ones that you should, or like these and like one other card or 1 or 2 other cards are like the only ones you should absolutely play. I make this more than anything else. Or excuse me, this is the second most important thing because of the 1 Link monster I play in here that actually matters. So yeah, I would 100% play this package all the time. I've even had times where I wish I was playing multiples of these because I can revive the Nova or the Infinity and then make another Infinity, which comes up, but it's not important enough to play multiples. 1 Volcasaurus for time. You can actually do some pretty sick combos with this by reviving stuff with reviving Strawman and then Strawman revive something, then chain the Strawman tag out, so that's no longer effect negated. So you can do some cheeky plays with this. You can play 1 of this just because you can dump Farm Girl off of Tin Can and then revive with Sword Trooper to out like back row problematics thing like Impure Order, stuff like that. So Drendel, this actually comes up every now and then where you can pop a back row like a Dead Call the Haunted or a Town. The only time this actually was really, really clutch was against Cyber Dragons of all things. They top deck into a it was a Brickfest. We were top decking. The guy drew into Emergency. I had this on the board. I negated it, and then he couldn't use the effect to get another resource because it wasn't negated. The effect was changed. So Barbaroid. This is just for when people are stupid enough to to strike the Nova, or nowadays Judgment the Nova. So you get this for free. It's just a big Bunga Bunga beater. This is really good against Orcust because it's just really nice. The last fusion is 1 Chimera Tech. So your hardest matchup, I say this all the time because it's absolutely true. Your hardest matchup, no matter what the format, is always going to be Cyber Dragons. Because, well, and maybe in this format it's probably Orcus because it's actually more popular. But in this format, this thing is really, really good. You can actually just take your opponent's board, summon a big 4,000 beater, and then just punch him to death. It comes up more than you think, and you can actually side Cyber Dragons just to make this, especially against Orcust. So, like, this is 100% just a me thing, but you could 100% play this just as a cheeky one of. Then the only other 2 cards you actually ever make is Nightmare Phoenix and Underclock Taker. This is the same thing as Grand Pulse, except this doesn't require levels, but this is an ultimate rare, so I don't want to play multiple. 1 Underclock, this is actually what you make a lot of the time when you're just trying to go for a game. So you just like make you put Farm Girl underneath this, then you target something, Farm Girl swing, get damage on, then you search Dark Destroyer and just OTK your opponent. I feel that because of the ban list, I actually want to go over my side for this format. So I'm going to do that now. For the hand traps, I'm playing 3 Valor, and these should be Ashes. I don't know where my Ashes are right now. They're probably in Thunder, somewhere over there, but I'm lazy as fuck and I don't want to go get them. This Ash, because I am playing in permanents, which is, you play this because it's an out to Colossus. This deck has a hard time dealing with Colossus, with the exception of like 1 or 2 cheeky cards, which are you have to hard draw them, and they're not super consistent. So in permanents is just a way to just beat over it, get it out of the way, break boards. So yeah. I'm playing the Kaiju package. This is just like another board wipe. Like, this is for when you're going second. This isn't really effective against, or this is more effective than 3 Dark Holes against Thunder, but this is only so good that it will only deal with either a negate or, like, this is never actually resolved properly, but the Kaiju's getting in the deck. You might as well be playing the Slumbers at the same time anyway. Then 3 Dark Hole. This is not as good as Kaiju Slumber, like I said, but this is something that I can side against multiple matchups where the Kaiju engine doesn't really do enough against a lot of matchups. Like, Thunder is not really very good against Salad. It's only okay, or the Kaijus are only so good against, oh goodness, the name eludes me, Orchest. And this, because this doesn't deal with the Dingirsu, and the Kaijus actually do. So this might come out for just like Ashes. Like, this is a really bad side deck, but I wanted to go over how in this build I'm actually playing it. So yeah, that's it for the profile. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys would like to talk about how I could improve this deck, or what you guys think should be put in this deck, or what are you guys' opinions on, say, the new trap card that this deck can play, let me know in the comment section below. I would love to talk about it. We actually are about to go past 250 subs, and we've just gotten our first video past 5,000 views, and we've hit like 13,000 view minutes over the past like few weeks. So I have to put out another thing, and it's been really fun actually going to the comments and talking to people. So please leave a comment. I love doing it. So I will see you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.